sentís ahora que ya está casi aquí la segunda temporada?
So how are you feeling now that the second season is almost, well, the premiere is upon us now of the second season?
Excited. I feel like I've not processed the finishing of filming. Like it's come around really quickly, but that's quite satisfying that people, like when you're filming, you're just excited to share it as well. So it's cool that it's come around so quickly.
Yeah, and seeing everybody's hard work kind of edited together all perfectly and specifically by Jorge and the team and seeing what their version of the final product is. You know, as actors, we sort of do as many takes as they let us and throw as much as we can into it, and then someone comes in and fine-tunes it. So to see that version is so exciting.
I find it, it's great. It's really nice to see everyone. Apart from anything else, today is like where we all see each other outside of the tension and intensity and pain of shooting, sometimes changing material, sometimes coming up with things, you know, improvising, finding ways through, as we all did together. So today is like a bonus that's still a little bit painful, because this, as much as great as it is to see you, these things are always a little strange too. Yeah, it's nice to see everyone, and I think there's a very good feeling about the project and a lot of pride in the work that we've done, so that's great. Yeah.
Bueno, yo he visto la temporada y tengo que deciros que me gusta incluso más que la primera. ¿Cuál es el mayor reto que habéis tenido en esta temporada, vosotros que habéis vuelto y en tu caso formando parte por primera vez de esta aventura?
So I've watched the season and I even liked more than the first one. So my first question for those that were already in the first season, what has been the biggest challenge now on the second? And for you, how difficult or how challenging it has been to get into a show that has already had a first season before?
Oh, I think kind of coming in for a second season is a big luxury as an actor, because I get to see what the style of the show is. I get to see like a ready formed creation, and so anything that furthers that, a sequel with like a season 2, you just hope that you can come and bring something extra to something that I already thought when I watched season 1. I mean, I love a thriller, but the whole time I was like terrified. So I knew coming into it, I was like, I want to bring something maybe that we haven't seen in season 1. And so I think, you know, coming in as Arthur's daughter and somebody who doesn't really have a stomach for anything other than compassion. She's a very compassionate person. She wants to treat everybody with kindness. And so then to bring that energy in, I hope sort of with the season 2, gives so many different levels and juxtaposes against Maggie and juxtaposes against other people so that we can see different versions of them. So really, also having everybody die in season 1 and a brand new cast in season 2 is great, because then it meant I was just coming in with these guys and not a whole cast. And so it really felt like, you know, a bunch of us came in and these guys were so welcoming. So we were like, cool, let's try and make this second show. But yeah.
I think there was like a really healthy gap in between 1 and 2, partly because we didn't know it was going to happen. I mean, the pandemic wasn't great, but I think like having that sort of bit of time in between, I think was probably quite good. And then, yeah, it was quite surreal coming back into it. I think despite all that time, like a lot of the crew was the same, which was really special, but quite like trippy to be like back with like the same faces. But yeah, I think the new cast makes it feel really fresh. It feels much more expansive because of like, it was so contained in the studio, and even though the ship is very claustrophobic, it still felt bigger. And then, I mean, I was filming quite a lot of things by myself, which was very different because before it was also so contained. So yeah, there was lots of different elements, which I think has helped create a very fresh, new version of the show. Yeah.
And season 2, because of the narrative and the structure of the story, because of the spine of the story, and because of how it was constructed, I think it needed a different kind of Arthur. Wild. He had to be slightly different. He had to be, I feel, outwardly sympathetic, empathetic, and how I reconciled that for myself was the year in prison, because he was in prison for a year on remand. The Arthur in season 1 is a very arrogant piece of work, quite distant, really has to removes himself, is more than, special than, better than, superior than. And in 2, there's a different Arthur. There has to be a different Arthur because he's the motor of the narrative a lot of the time. So I had to construct a different way in and present a different kind of Arthur, who really at the end of the day isn't really, but that was the challenge for me for 2.
Bueno, John, tu personaje es, por así decirlo, el protagonista de esta temporada y tienes a tu lado a las personas que han interpretado tus 2 debilidades, tu hija y tu enemiga. ¿Con quién te enfrentarías primero aquí, ahora que las tienes aquí? ¿Y qué consejo le daríais a vuestros personajes si pudierais hablar con ellos antes de que ocurran los sucesos de la segunda temporada?
So your character is the main character and is the engine of everything that goes on, the one that drives the action. And you have your 2 main weaknesses with you today, your daughter and your nemesis. So which one would you confront first? And if any of you could give any advice to your characters before what unravels on the 2nd season, what would that advice be?
Don't believe everything you're told. I think I would give that advice. I think it's so interesting you were just talking about a new Arthur, because obviously my character doesn't meet season 1 Arthur. My character only meets season 2 Arthur. So it's not that I've just had this realization, but I've always thought when we were working together how different you were from me watching you in season 1 and how different season 2 is. And that's Rachel's weakness, is she believes what's in front of her. She's got no reason to assume people are lying. And even though she's got a guard up and she's very smart and very astute, the one thing she does think she has a hold on is when people are telling the truth and when people are lying. And I think, my advice is don't believe everything you're told. Definitely.
Well, mine would be Polaris 5. Would you go back to Polaris 5 and Sarah Jackson? I think that moment where I insist that she lets me touch her. I insist that she lets me kiss her. That moment is probably where I would, maybe if I had, as Arthur, the time to do a 360 degree. Because that unleashes everything. That moment unleashes the whole cycle of retribution, the murders, and consequently the murders in 2 because of what Arthur is, So I think that moment in time, if I've had any advice, would be find somewhere else to be.
Stop.
Stop.
That's interesting because I guess my advice to Maggie or Olivia would be how she processes it, to be like when she discovers, like, no, don't do that.
Take a second.
Just breathe. But because I think what she misses is, and I'm glad that it's more present in season 2, but the relationship with her sister and the fact that they should have, they are very close, but I think they should have prioritized that bond and preserved that bond rather than allowing it to become contaminated with what they learn about Arthur. But I definitely don't think she should have done what she did, but that is a huge, horrible thing to process, that has happened to your mother. So I think it would also be impossible to do nothing, like murdering people, not okay. I don't know what I'm saying, but I wish she could have had the wherewithal to process it an alternative way and to value the relationship with her sister and hold on to what she has already.
Muchas gracias. Espero disfrutaros a los 3 en una tercera temporada, porque si algo me ha enseñado Juego de Tronos es que si no veo el cadáver, aquí puede pasar de todo.
So she hopes to see you back in the third season because she's learned from Game of Thrones that if you don't see the dead body, everything is possible.
That is true.